I'm just going to do a quick presentation on how to read planets data into using the API into Excel. So why do I care? Depending on your play style, you might not. There's few people that play with gut instinct rather than methodically planning every single resource they have and every single ship they have. Traditionally, some people might be using pens and paper to plan some stuff out, or they do manual entries into Excel to calculate a few things, which is very repetitive because the resources change every turn and situations change all the time. That computers are good at, as McNimbus said in his presentation, they love repetitive tasks. So they're extremely good at that. You can ask the computer to make the API call. Then there's some tools to look at that data, and you can convert this data into more visible things using those tools. And then what I want to show is you can automate all of those steps rather than manually pulling the data and looking at it using Visual Basic scripts in Excel and just suck the data straight in. And once you have it all set up, all you have to do is press one button really, and then it will refresh it with the latest data. Okay, so the first step, the manual data pool. You get all of the information how to use the API on the web documentation. There's the Help Planets NU API. In order to pull data for a game that's still running, you need to log in to get your API key. For finished games, you can just look at the data without doing anything really. You can just do an API call, or it's just a URL really. I mean, an API call is nothing but a URL with a few parameters. Okay. It's just you use it in your browser. Yeah. So you can see, as you can see down here, that's just a small snippet of browser window, and it's just API planets and you login username. I used my alternate account, another friend, with password planetscom. That will get you that call just gives you your API key. That's basically your login. Okay. You use your browser to log in. It then answers with success or fail if you got something wrong in that parameter, like your password. And then it has an API key, which is this long string of letters and numbers. And then when you have a run game later that you want to pull data for, you can just use that key. That's your unique identifier. That's how planets will identify you in your data pools once you're logged in.
But you can only use this now for games that you play as another friend, correct?
Right,
so
right.
Okay.
Yeah, that key is specific to me.
It's account locked.
And you can find this URL in the help pages. I don't need to.
Yes. It's on that. Yeah.
On that one. Okay.
Yeah. There's examples how to do that and what. And obviously you could just use this URL down here and replace the username with your username and put your password in. If you then put that in the browser, hit enter, then it will answer with this and give you the API key. Yeah. So that's the first step to the manual pull.
And never ever give your API key to anyone else.
No, because the API key is just logs people in. They could look at any of your turn data. So when your API key, you can then do a call to the log. I mean, all of the, when I say call, all that it is a different kind of subdirectory and function, I guess, that you just have in the URL. It's API planets NU, and then it's the game data, and you want to log the turn for the game ID, and then it's just the normal game ID that you would find in the browser when you look at your game, and then your API key that you just grab, and then it would come with pages and pages of this, yeah, which is just all the data that is in that. And I'll show you in a minute how you can make that a bit more readable. If you want to look at a finished turn on a finished game, you just give the game ID and the player ID, and it will give you the last turn that from that game.
What happens if you don't include the player ID? Do you get all the turns?
No, I mean there's a way you could get all of the data at once in a zip file, but that's not really. On the helper page, it will give you all the different API calls that you can make. There's hundreds of them.
Okay.
Yeah. You can get games data, lists of games. You can get all sorts of data.
Thank you.
You can also say, give me all the games that Joshua is playing at the moment, or give me. I mean, you can get all sorts of data with those data calls.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Next. Okay. So there's hundreds of code beautifiers. If you look for a JSON, that is the language that is used here, by the way. Yeah. So that is the data that comes from the API call. If you have and it's all in JSON, which is a standard kind of Java used data structure. It's basically just a structured way of exchanging data that always pairs a data label to the data. So let's say you have hull ID and then it has an ID for it, or it has player name and then it has the name. Hundred of
JSON
them.
stands for JavaScript Object Notation.
Very nice, yes. So it's what I done then is I hit the tree viewer button on the code beautifier, and that will then put that in this structure or show you the structure of it. It doesn't put it in the structure. The structure is already there. You just can't see it. And you can see that it's nested kind of arrays of data. All of the game's data is in the RST, and then inside there you have settings, all sorts of stuff here. If you hit that button, it will collapse it all. And then you can, because at the moment it's all expanded, and it would go down pages and pages. Hit that button, it collapses it all, and then you can just hit on the, just like you browse directories in your Windows Explorer. Yeah, so that at least gives you a possibility of just checking out what's in the data. And then all those names you might need later if you want to identify that data in Excel again. Okay.
And what tool is this? Is it JSON viewer? You can get it.
This is codebeautify.org.
Okay.
JSON viewer. That's just, I mean, there's hundreds different ones. That's the one I like to use.
Are they freeware?
Yeah, they're just websites.
Oh, okay.
There's just a website. You just you can either say load URL and then you put from the turn. You know the URL that I showed you on the last page.
Yeah, with
You
your
just-
player ID? No, you don't do that. Yeah.
Well, with the API key, you potentially could. I don't think they're going to snoop, but yes, if you're on the wrong website, they could. But I don't think you're a prime target for data hashing. I don't think anyone cares about your planets.
Alex, are you running any of these beautifier sites?
Right. So, and I don't tend to do that. I just tend to open it in the browser window, like like you saw in the other thing. It then gives you Control A will select everything in your browser window. Control C for copy. Control V it in here, and then the thing is, what it will say is this website seems to be busy, and it looks like it's crashed, and you get this little request there. Do you still want this to execute? And you hit the wait button about 2-3 times before it actually finished. Yeah, so it takes quite a few seconds. Yeah, it's not an instant thing. It's about 1.5 megabytes of text in there. That's a lot of text. Okay. Right. So, but then Excel doesn't understand JSON out of the box either. So in order to make Excel understand the structure and the objects and data in JSON, some kind of person on the interweb has created a set of functions and libraries, and that was the VBA JSON project, and then someone else improved it, and there's a version 2.22 that I'm using at the moment. You can download it on GitHub, but you also will find it in my Excel spreadsheet. If you look at the code there, it will say that you can use it as long as you keep all the references to everything, and to all the developers of that. But I don't mention them because it also says, yeah, in order to reference them, you have to ask their permission first. So I'm not going to tell you who they are. You can read that for yourself if you go there. Yeah, and then what does it you basically just give it, same as the beautifier website, you just give it all of that big string of data, and it will take it apart and put it into memory, into little objects, VBA dictionary and collection really, but I don't know whether that means much to people. But it puts into little objects that you can then address and extract exactly the data that you want with some commands, and just put it into the Excel spreadsheet. Okay. Right. So in order to get Excel tables from this, it's basically 4 steps. Get your API key, but you can leave that out if you want to extract data from a finished game, but you get your API key, you request the data, mostly turn data, you then ask the JSON library to parse the data, and then you write the collection data that this creates into your spreadsheet, at least the data that you want. You wouldn't want all of it, for sure. But if you can then extract any of the objects that you see, which is planets, hulls, players, ships, star bases, and the planets contain everything. There's all 500 planets in there. They will not contain data if you haven't visited those planets. It will only give you the same data that the client, because the client actually uses the same data. It just visualizes it client rather than in a spreadsheet. Essentially, you're viewing your turn through Excel. Yeah, you're just viewing your turn through Excel. I mean, you could even manipulate the data and write it back with the right API code. I don't think I would want to play planets through Excel. By manipulating spreadsheets, that'd probably be a bit nuts.
You could make a completely standalone client if you want.
Like VPU too.
Yeah, I mean, if you're one of those really weird analytical people that wants to do everything by spreadsheet, you could. And say, okay, I want that. Okay, that has that many lines. But then, obviously, if you don't meet the restrictions, it will fail. You will have to put some checks in that you're not putting more lines onto your thing than it can actually handle. Okay. So there's some detailed steps here. To get the API key, in order to do that in Excel, I mean, this is now going into how do I do the same things that I've just done manually in Excel. So in your function, the first thing that you would need, you need Microsoft scripting runtime library in order to stream the data in and out into Excel. But that is you just go into references, add, and then there's a list of all the libraries that you can use in Excel, and you just pick the Microsoft scripting runtime library. You then do a GET request. That is essentially what the browser does when you hit enter. You do a GET request, in this case with the Microsoft XML HTTP object, which basically makes Excel then behave like your browser. I think that will only work on a Windows machine, because I think it's actually using your Internet Explorer object to make that call in the background. You don't, I mean, it doesn't open Internet Explorer, but it's using the object that comes with Internet Explorer to make that actual call. And that is why the data then comes also already decrypted. Because normally those things are packed up and you wouldn't need to unpack them if you get after the API. But the browser does that automatically, and it does that automatically for Excel too. Okay. Okay. The parameters can be password and user, or it can be your to get the API key. And then you stream the output. So what you saw in the browser window earlier, where it said success and your API key, I'm just writing that to a file. By streaming, I mean you take the data that comes from the internet and put it directly into a file rather than just displaying it to you. And then I just read the file and filter on the relevant bits to just grab the API key out of that little file. Okay. So now Excel knows my API key.
And that streaming, how do you do it? Is it like you are still within Excel? Do you all have this in Excel so that you only have to hit the button and then it saves
Right,
it somewhere?
right. It's just command line. It just says take this output and put that output onto, in my case, C/temp/API key.txt. Yeah.
Okay, it's already automated in your first line.
Right. And that comes on the next. I'm going then into each of those with the code examples. Yeah. But it's essentially just like any good robots, you tell them exactly what you want, and it's like, go to this URL, grab this information, and then grab that information out and put it into this file, and then open this file again and extract just the API key. Yeah. I wish I could actually do that without writing it to a file and just stream that information directly into memory and then just grab it out of that string, but that's not possible. Okay. Well, at least this library doesn't do it. I'm sure you could write in your own little your own little library that would hook into this and do that for you, but I didn't bother with that. Okay. Okay, so then once we have the API key, we do the same thing. We do a GET request again like we did in the browser. You do the same thing, but this time you have the API key, the game ID, the race ID, and the turn number if you want. Yeah, you don't need the password and user. I just didn't kill that. But you get all the information that you just basically say, what information do I want now? You stream the output to a file again, and then you read the file into memory. And then from memory, it's essentially in a string, massive big string. You just hand the string over to the library, and then you just wait. It takes a few seconds, 20, 30 seconds. And then it's all in a nice structured data, and you can address that data with your code and write it to wherever you want. Manipulate it, add it together, whatever you, depending on what you want to do with it. So, the first thing, get request details. What this code does is I just say, okay, here's the call that I want to make, and I put it in a string. Call it my URL. And then I create the HTTP object, so I say, just says, give me a new variable. I want to call it win HTTP request as an object. An object is basically a thing that you attach characteristics to later. You just say I want an object, and then later I define what that object's going to be. And you do that with the set command. Then I say, okay, that object shall be an object of type Microsoft XML HTTP, which is basically like a browser instance. Yeah, make this object behave like a browser would. and then I say open, yeah, open this URL, my URL, and that I don't know what parameter on that was, but it just needed to be set to false. I didn't want whatever it needed to do. But you will, when you actually type it, it will say what in the tooltips. VBA is quite good at that. And then you send that request. That's basically hitting enter. That is typing it into your browser URL, really. That is saying, okay, now do it. And then you get a response body, which is basically the bottom of your browser window. So that I put that back in my URL because I don't need that string anymore. Just being lazy, really. I could have created a different string for it, but it's like, yeah, just give me the result, and then I check for was the status okay, because I think people might have had a 404 before. You hit a website and you get a 404 error. They're basically error codes or success codes that the server will give you, and 200 says it's all fine. Yeah, saying if it was all fine, then create a new stream, and it's a specific stream of database data type. You open the stream of type 1, you write the response body and save it to file API, and then 2 means overwrite, because I'm using it every time. It just overwrites the old file then rather than creating new ones every time. And then you close the stream. So that is the same for the data, really. Yeah, it's you do the request and then you stream it to file. So, and once you have your file somewhere, yeah, in this case, I stream file to finished game data.txt. So what it is, okay, give me a new file system object so that I can open the file. I need somewhere where I store all the JSON that is in that file. Then the resulting text. So that's the text stream, so that's just to open the file and stream it through a text stream into this string. And then parsed is the result for the library that goes through the thing, and that is of type dictionary. That's just a data type that allows me to have named data types. So you can, the structure that you saw earlier with the hulls and all that, so that it can put all of that structure into something that VBA understands. It's a dictionary, and then we read the data file. So JSON text, open text file stream, the essentially where on my hard disk did I store that, and then I open it for reading. I then read all of the file into my JSON text, and then I close the file. That's all it does, or the stream, whichever you want to call it. Okay, and then then now we pass the JSON to a dictionary. So we have the file all in memory, and then we just say, okay, call the JSON library, JSON converter, pass the JSON data with the JSON text that we got here.
How does that work in practice, getting the reference to JSON converter? Is that kind of available for your operating system for VBA after you install?
No, that's what you did. That was like on 4.3. It's this 2.2.2 library
So
that you have to download. You download and copy. I mean, it's going to be like a BAS or text, which is just a text file, a basic file, and you just copy and paste all of that content. I'll show you that in the Excel in a minute anyway.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. See? Because that's it. That's how much of the theory I wanted to do.
Okay, great.
Yeah? Because otherwise it gets rather boring. Plus you can't, I think practical examples will help more. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, let's see, Excel, Visual Basic. Okay. So you can see here there's my message history thing that upload it, and you can find in the on the feed, in the activity feed. There's this Excel spreadsheet basically gathers all of the messages in a game and puts the relationships together, and also does a few statistics as to who communicated with whom, how much. And you might find that a lot of games are won by the ones that communicated the most. I haven't really passed through too many games, but that was certainly true for all the championship games that I went through. So whoever chats wins. But what you can see on this one and the other one, which is the Planets Connect out, I'm going to do in a minute, is I put the JSON converter code in its own module, and all you need to do is just go here and say, you can just say add module. So right click on that, and you can say insert module. And then all I did after I added that module, I just copied all the code from that GitHub page that I downloaded in here. But as I say, if you use any of my example spreadsheets, you already have it. All you have to do is kind of add your own things to it. Yeah. You can see if I double click on that, yeah, you can see VBA JSON and where you can get it from and what the licensing for it is. Yeah, and where it all came from and who wrote it all, and you can use it as long as you're not doing anything commercial with it and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. But let's go to my Planets Con example. So same as the JSON con converter, and as I added another module for the JSON data grab, and basically in I created my own little download file routine, which has a few options. So you can load turns for the current turn and for a specific turn, and you can also do it with the API key and without the API key. So in this case, I created a subroutine where the game ID, the player ID, all of that are parameters, so I can reuse that function in loads of different projects by just putting the game ID, player ID, and all that sort of things maybe in a spreadsheet location, and then call that functions with the cell reference where I put those data points to just go ahead and do this. Yeah. So and it basically just says which data did I give to make then a decision which call it should make. Yeah, so it's more flexible for me rather than just doing one call. But if let's say I didn't give it the turn number, then automatically will say, okay, it will do the latest turn and that sort of stuff. Yeah. But the end result is still the same. It just does the GET request with whatever URL I decided to use, and then I'm writing this into planets.txt, and then close. And that's it, because all it does is to download the file. Yeah. So once I've then downloaded the file, I want to extract planets data. In that case, the data of the planets from that file. So again, create my file stream and all that to read the data from the file and its text. Yeah. And now I've added a few things that help me run through the data and put it into rows and columns. So I created my own this row, yeah, to keep track of which row am I in, which column am I in. I also created variants that says, give me the planet's data. Because what I want to do, writing data into Excel cells is extremely slow. Because every time you update the cell, recalculate the spreadsheet, redraw all the spreadsheet, do all sorts of stuff. If you have 500 planets which have about 40 data points, that's 500 times 40 redraws and recalculations of that spreadsheet. Yeah, so it'll probably take you an hour or two to write it into, if you write it directly into the cells. So that's why I created my own planets variant, which is going to be, a variant is basically, I don't know, it just tells Excel, I want to create a variable or an object, whatever, but I don't know quite what it is yet. And then when you actually pass it the data, it will then decide, okay, in order to hold this data, I need to use this data. Yeah, it's rather than saying it's an array, it's going to be a string, because it just reacts to the data structure and decides itself what data structure it is. Variants take a bit more space, but they're very flexible. Okay, so then I read the J file, which hasn't changed, they're still the same. It's planets text, read it all into memory, and then close the data stream and just get me all of the data. So once it passed, once it passed the data, and I go back to my beautifier, come on, why is it not showing the data anymore?
Remember, the Wi-Fi is very low.
Well, yeah, but I already loaded it. It should just, for whatever reason, there it is. Yeah. So you can. That's one of the games I'm playing in the color sector, turn 59. Yeah.
Look what he's building.
Yeah. That game is going to be over 2 turns, so I don't really care.
6, 8, 8, 6, 1, 2. Sorry, you were saying?
Yeah. So you get. The first thing is all of the settings, yeah, in the data structure. Yeah, yeah. So you get all of that. So it then I put it into the JSON viewer. Yeah. So when you go through that, you can see, okay, there's RST. Yeah, in the RST is all of the RST, I guess, is just the REST. It's just REST API, yeah. That is what the data structure and JSONs are mostly like. So you can then see in there you have settings, the game player, yeah. That's my information on the player itself. Then the players, yeah, who are all the other ones. The scores currently, so that's where you can see what the military score and all that sort of stuff are. Maps, I don't even know what's in there. Then you have your 500 planets, the ships that I know of. Yeah, it doesn't show me all the ships, only the ships that I have knowledge of.
And only the ships of this turn.
Well, yes. The ships that I have knowledge of at that point in time, yeah.
Oh, but does it also include ships that you've seen but that are now maybe hiding at the enemy planet where you have no cloaker?
I don't think so. I don't know.
You see on the screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's exactly what your client displays.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
What you don't know in the client.
So what you don't see,
Yeah. There's no magic box here, unfortunately. No.
What about a ship you have seen?
Yeah, that's the question.
But
It wouldn't be in that client.
In what way would it be? Maybe this is outside the scope, but in what way? When 10 turns later you see it again, you know what.
You can't see it in your turn, so it's not there.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Did anyone use enemy shipless plugin?
Well, yeah, but the enemy, enemy shipless plugin show you that, because what enemy shipless plugin would, at the turn we see the data, it would store it. Yeah. But the turn itself only gives you what you see then, because you can't actually look at the ship details that you can't see.
No, that's
and it's just not there. Then you have your iron storms, nebulas. I mean, there's a list of things. Yeah. And you can see that inside, there's all the hulls, all the race hulls. Yeah. It's just everything is in all the minefields. Yeah. Star bases.
Is there information that's not displayed in the client? I've heard of this crew experience level versus iron.
There is stuff that you don't see visible. So if you go into planets, for instance, you can then see all of the, and this is just the area ID number, so that would be planet number 1, yeah, rather than 0. So if you open that up, you see, okay, name is Sol. I don't know the friendly code. I know the planet exists, obviously, because you know all 500 planets. Yeah. So I don't know what the mines, factories, any of those things are on this planet. Yeah.
So -1 is unknown.
Yeah.
Question mark.
Yeah. Temperature, owner ID. You just can't see anything. If we would go into the game, I could probably find one planet that shows all the data.
There's no need.
Yeah, but basically you get all of those. So let me go back to my code. It just uses, when you now address this data in your code, it uses exact same structure. That's why you need the beautifier open, really, when you want to program this stuff. Because it says, okay, what's the first object element or node in your directory structure that the data is in? And you say, okay, give me data from RST, and inside RST, give me data from planets. And that basically just says, I set up here, I want a data structure called planets, but I don't know what it is yet, and create it as a variant. And that basically just recreates planets data object with the number of planets in that planet's data structure. So it's 500 rows. And then it also says how many go to the side. How many elements
So it
does that
defines,
array,
the
each
array
planet
for the-
array, each planet item or each object inside that array has?
Yeah.
So that I know, okay, how wide do I need to make my spreadsheet? Yeah. But at the moment, I'm just writing it, just creating the variable that will hold all of that. And then I'm going through a loop that says for each value in planets, yeah, go to a new row and then write all the values into the columns of each value key, which is each object, and then in each key grab the value. That might not be immediately understood because it's a bit more complex as to what all the variables and stuff is here. But essentially, I'm just looping through all of the elements that you could see in the browser and just grabbing every single data point from every single substructure. And then once it's finished with all of that looping through, I'm just saying activate the sheet core that are all planets in my spreadsheet, and then from 1.1 to how big is planets it asks, what's the upper boundary of planets, yes, so it then asks how wide is it, write into those cells, write the value of the entire structure of planets. And then it dumps all of that data that you just looped through and read into memory in one go into the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
So that you only get one redraw, one recalculation of the Excel spreadsheet. Yeah. Makes the example a little bit more complex, but if you don't do it, it's just so slow, and there's no point giving you an example where you then read one turn data and 5 hours later you got your data in Excel. Okay, so what does that then look like? It look like this. So planets, that's the sheet, planets, and then it goes through all them, gives you all the data. And obviously, this is from a different game where I have far less planets. But you can see there's a planet I know something about, at least I'm friendly code. Yeah. Let me actually go to the top again and keep the
Phrase to the right. That's 6 to the right.
yeah, exactly, that's what I want. Okay. That didn't work. Why didn't it work?
Oh, that's.
Freeze top row.
Huh? Oh, it should be working. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah, you were.
Right. Yeah. Wow.
We can leave it.
Yeah. You
Try
can,
that again. Okay. Freeze. Unfreeze.
You can say freeze top row. It says already there.
And normally I do it with the selection. That normally works, but doesn't seem to.
Strange.
Normally by selecting it, it works. But hey, let's unfreeze again and freeze top row one. Okay, so that we can.
Yeah, that's better.
We see something that has some data. You can then see what it is. So, for
12
example,
That's
this planet here.
16.
You got friendly code.
No mines.
You got supplies 100. Yeah, no factories, no mines. I don't even know what game it is from at the moment, but so maybe we just drop the supplies on there. It's 200. See, the neutral, all of those, that is surface. Yeah, that's what's on the surface. Molybdenum, molybdenum, all that. Then how much is in the ground? Yeah. What's the density? That's in percent. Yeah. It then has also some total ones. I don't know. They're in the client. Don't know what they do. Yeah, it doesn't seem to add up. And then it also has some check methods here. I think that's some double checks that the server does against the client to see that you have needed that actually your mining could work out. That's all stuff that needs to be discussed with Big Beaver, I guess, if you really wanted to know what that does. But it just gives you a whole bunch of data, like who's the owner, yeah, what's the temperature, how many clans do I have, yeah, how many native clans are on there, what's the native government. And for those things, it's almost all in numbers, so you need to find out what the key, what the key is, which is probably in the data structure somewhere else, so you could then link the two together. So if you then pass also through that data, you could then read that, but that just makes it too complex for now. But it's certainly something I want to do, where you can put all the holes, IDs, and then actually select the ship that you want to build, and then it automatically figures out how much you need, and you have all your resources here. You can then see, do I need to bring it, and how far away is it, and all that sort of stuff. So you can do major plans with it, but not going to be too easy.
Is
But what
your turn, like what you do in your turn, is that also inside here? Like if you...
It won't be on the planets data, because that shows you the planets at that time when you open the turn data.
Oh, okay.
That will be in your activity. So if you write that back, it's then in another data structure that tells the server what is all the stuff you're doing. You won't see it on the planets. No.
Yeah, of course.
No. But what you can do on a very basic level, you can just do a pivot table over that and just fill that by owner ID and see all your planets. And then I've added here some of mines, some of factories. Yeah, some of Naturalium. So at the bottom of it, you can kind of get an overview of what your current availability is, and then I also put the ground in and say, okay, this is my total potential material. For each planet, you also have coordinates. You could then calculate. You could, for instance, say, okay, only give me things where the coordinates are within 100 light year of my homeworld, for instance, by just doing the normal calculation for triangular coordinates.
If you connect if you have this sort of data and you try to connect it to Isote's economy speech,
Yes.
can you find a decision model to find on which planets you should build the mines first and all that?
You could, sure. I mean, it would take some work, but that certainly when Isote was going through it, that's what I was thinking. You could model, or you could put his model onto real data, and you could also analyze your games against that model by looping through all of the turns, because you could also automate the grabbing turn 1 to which I done in the messaging app, where you just cycle through all the turns in the game, grab all of that data, look exactly how much you had at that point, how much mines you have, and then you can write an algorithm that says, if I'd maximized the mine potential using 100 clans on all whatever model you want to demo, you could then recalculate how much you would have resources at any point in time versus how many resources you actually had. And I've done something similar with Borg taxing optimization once, just an exercise where I said, okay, if I had only used the amount of mines and fabs that it would allow me to always tax my Borg at 8% tax, rather than the actual what someone did. And then I took one of Darth Ball, because Darth Ball's asked that question in the feed. Can we create something that would optimize that? And I created him a spreadsheet that just calculates it for him, so he can just plug it in to plug the data in and just do the calculation rather than doing it all automatically. But and it would be better suited for the client as an add-on. But with that, I've done an exercise then, how much more tax and resources, or total, using the supplies versus taxing versus putting it all in, how much more would he have had in the end game versus what he actually had in terms of MC and all that. And it turned out he would have had around 400,000 more MC.
To a total percentage?
No, in total.
Yeah, but is that
400,000, yeah.
Then how many factories?
In that game.
On a 10 million planet?
No, just all of the planets. If he had optimized every single planet that he had to only put as many mines and factories on it that he could always tax his clans at 8%.
Did you also then counter it with the supplies that he lost by not having the factories? And
I just put against the real data of what he had. Yeah, if he didn't optimize that, that's not really my problem.
But I mean, like, did you count supplies as MCs?
Yes.
Because I have a lot of Borg maxed, try to get the mines down, but I leave the factories up. Because I think they don't, I mean, you can have like 350 mines and then you can still tax like +5 or something. And otherwise it's +8, so that's 300 more versus 350 factories. I'm not sure exactly on the figure.
Well, yeah, no, but
it's mainly to get rid of the mines.
Yeah. But there's just
They are really good at it.
all those things. You have to just use the calculations. It's not just the amount; it's the temperature, the happiness, all of that. You need to calculate it, and it's been over a year since I've done it. I'm not quite sure on the details, but I was just surprised at how much more you could get out of that optimization. So optimization is certainly a useful tool, just like Isote had in his. He believes that this obviously he was just making it a model, but if you optimize that, I'm sure you could come out with far better builds than just using a very basic algorithmic structure that everyone does and just let them grow. I think there's a lot of people that just let their little rocks grow and then come back X turns later to see what they got, rather than planning every single rock.
And I think especially the first turns, it's critical to know until when you can still build decent ships, and by when the new supplies need to be in. If you want
And then that is actually something that I wanted to do. And there's one player, Hans I, that he has created a spreadsheet where he puts all the details in, where you can plan all your builds that you want to build before the ship limit or just in general, and it will then and then you put the planets data in, and it will calculate how much more you would need and what you need to, so you can plan how many mines and all that sort of stuff you need. But what I wanted to do is automate that, so that you don't have to put it all in. But it's going to be a big project. Just wanted to give a simple example to show you what you can do, and then you can apply that to any of the data.
And
One question.
where can we find an easy way to do this? Because you said if you set it up right, it's a button every turn.
Yeah, because I mean, you could now just on page 1, I just put some space for the API key. You can just go into insert, and then you can add a button.
Yes.
You know,
But
the
question,
and
the most
and
important thing is, can we find this in the help pages or in the plugins section? Or?
No, but I'm gonna add some examples. What I'm gonna do is probably add some more to that. I will probably put my presentation on, but then might do an update to the presentation that also contains an Excel spreadsheet that you can then just download inside the presentation, which with just maybe 3 or 4 things like download your current turn.
And then we will figure out where to download it in the activity feed or maybe the help files.
Right.
You could add it on the PlanetsCon 2017 site in the presentation, just like a slides and the Excel.
Did you already answer the question out of the phone from Knurf?
No?
He asked, somebody asked Qinic if he could use the API to analyze Ironstorm tracks. I have a theory about how they are not really random, but instead gravitate toward, well, there's no need to get into the details.
Right. I mean, yes, the iron storms are in there. I'm pretty sure they have the ID and the coordinates. You just cycle through all the turns, grab the ID and the coordinates, and then you have a trace of all the coordinates and can analyze from that you could calculate the speed and direction heading, and then you could just create a spreadsheet of the speed and heading for each turn of each iron storm, and you can analyze that. And
the heading is in the interface, so it's probably already in the Ironstorm object.
well, I don't know. We can have a quick look and see if here's the iron storms. Let's see what they have. Yeah, they have a heading. Yeah, they have a heading and a wall speed. So you just grab that data, cycle through all the turns, and then you could have a trace of all the iron storm movements.
What's the parent ID say? What is it? Build cursor?
That has to do with the new iron storms. One of the centers is the iron storm, and all the other centers are.
Oh, the one with the multiple. Yes.
Right. So it kind of traces whether it formed from another one, or I guess it.
I think it's the circles with the
new
fake
type
borders,
which has multiple clouds
Borders.
overlapping.
Right.
One of them is the central iron storm, and the other one have the parent ID set to that one.
That's for the nebula. For the cloudy storms.
Yeah, the cloudy storm.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm not an expert on the actual data structure. There's a lot of questions that I have on what all the fields mean, and a lot of them you can never find out. You kind of just have to go with it, and I guess look at as much data as you can to maybe figure out what the relationship is. But
Can you show one ship? Open one object ship? Just
Sure.
to see if there's
Waypoints or ships that are
it's above the iron storms.
yeah.
See if there's the
Also
preferably ship of view.
client also the waypoint of the shipping, so it is a red circle.
So now the crew experience
this
for
exact
storms
same data
will be
is
there.
available in the browser. It's just been copied, and information derived from it is also there. That makes it easier to use.
Experience, there
Some
it
of it
is.
is derived in the host.
If that experience is high, you know it's
client side.
able to.
Yeah, I mean, it works better to look at that data when you also have the client of the same turn open, so you can actually see, you know the ship, but you can get.
And Qinic,
Yeah.
you see, experience is still there.
Yeah, but it's not shown in client ID. So
Yes, it's.
But there's a
I
plugin
think.
that shows it.
What?
There is a plugin that shows it.
Oh,
But I think this is the only relevant data which is not shown in the
yeah, I
client.
think it's.
The Iron
And
Storm
it's only
experience.
needed if you go into.
Or the ship experience, and it's only relevant for traveling in Iron
Right,
Storm.
right.
It's not so. But
Yeah. I mean, the other thing is as well, you see there it says info turn. So if there's a ship that you still see, I think that is where it would store when you got things like beam and that sort of info from like a fight or something. That might store there in which turn you get
By
at
the
the
way,
info.
also not shown in your browser.
Yeah.
Infoturn.
from which turn it was? Yeah.
Right.
From Minefield, I believe it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Planets, it is not.
Yeah.
No, I
Yeah.
think
But that can be very.
You have
It
That-
everything
says
on the planet.
that-
that,
that-
or so.
It does?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that will tell you how reliable the data is, I guess. If the info turn is very long ago, it might not be quite as accurate as it
It
appears
might
to be.
already have been killed.
All right,
Or not.
I think that's it. Didn't want to overdo this, but just send me a message if you wanted. I don't have a problem working with people on trying to do their help them do their spreadsheets or whatever. We'll do a basic mask and then we can see what kind of lovely projects we can come up with. Okay, thank you very much.
You can't wait to get to download your spreadsheet and start building on that one. Yeah.